All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Ha-Rakat Kodash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abab. So it says in Luke 23, verse 26, you can see it in the subtitle, Simon Bears the Cross. All right. And as they led him away, Yahushai, they laid hold upon one, Simon, a Cyrenian, which is North African, but he was an Israelite. That's why he was in Jerusalem, to see the crucifixion of Yahushai, because he was there keeping the Passover, knowing that he was an Israelite with the name Simeon, which is one of the tribes, but him going back to that land was evidence that he was an Israelite to keep the customs of the Israelites, the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right. Now, Simon, all right, Peter's name was changed from Simon to Peter. And, it's heavy. I was praying over the scripture because Simon, when you look up the word Simon, pulls up Peter. And really, this is the position Peter should have been in. He should have bared the cross for Yahushai, right? But instead, the Lord had him deny Yahushai 3 times, and he put this man, Simon, a Cyrenian, which is really an Israelite from Africa, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Yahushai. And Peter, really that should have been Peter's position. But see, if Peter was there, they would have wanted to crucify him with Yahushai. See, so that would have fulfilled prophecy. So the Lord put a substitute there to bear his cross with him, Simon, an Israelite of Cyrenian, which is northern Africa. All right, once again, the Israelites have been scattered throughout the world for many generations. So you got Israelites all over the world. All right. So just to make that point, that if Peter was there, they would have wanted to kill him. So the Lord put Simon as a substitute for Peter, so Peter could continue and fulfill the prophecy that he did. See, because all right. So right here, we'll start right here. All right, we'll start right here in 48. Luke 22, verse 48. But Yahushua said unto him, Judas betrayeth thou the Son of Man with a kiss. Judas the Iscariot. He betrayed Yahushua for 30 pieces of silver. And he kissed him to identify him. And then after he did that, Yahushua was persecuted and crucified, which was all part of the prophecy. That's why he didn't want Peter cutting off the ear of the chief priest soldiers. All right? Because prophecy had to be fulfilled. When they which were about him saw what would follow, they said unto him, Lord, shall we smite with the sword? So they was ready to fight the army of the chief priests. But Yahushua didn't allow it. And one of them smote the servant of the high priest Peter. And Peter did the smoting. He cut off the ear of the high priest and cut off his right ear. So once again, and one of them, Peter, smote the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. And Yahushua answered and said, Suffer ye thus far. And he touched his ear and healed him. He was an Israelite. Then Yahushua said unto the chief priests and captains of the temple and the elders which were come to him, Be ye come out, and it says, as against the thief with swords and staves, because they came out with the weapons after him, right? Because they were afraid of him, really, because he had power. He was doing miracles. And he knocked them on their ass when they asked for him. It says, when I was daily with you in the temple, you stretched forth no hands against me, but this is your hour and the power of darkness, right? Because they came for him real early in the morning to late at night. Then look they him and led him and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. And when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the hall, and were set down together, Peter sat down among them. But a certain maid beheld him, and he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him. So she was studying his face. You know, just like the movies, the guy would be at the diner trying to eat a breakfast, and the report will come on that he's wanted, and they'll start looking at him, start searching out his face details, you know. And then the guy starts panicking, he gotta run. It says, and earnestly looked upon him and said, this man was also with him. And he denied him, saying, woman, I know him not. See, they wanted to get him. They said, that's another one of his guys right there. That's one of his disciples. Get him. And see, this is a maid. So this conversation was throughout the whole house of this chief priest, right? That they wanted to get Yahushua and all the men with him. That's why the Israelites had to scatter that were with him. It says, and after a little while, another saw him and said, thou art also of them. And Peter said, man, I am not. See? So he denied him twice. And about the space of 1 hour after, another confidently affirmed, saying, of a truth this fellow also was with him, for he is a Galilean. And Peter said, man, I know not what thou sayest. And immediately, while he yet spake, the cock crew, because Yahushua prophesied to him that he would deny him 3 times. All right? It says, and the Lord turned and looked upon Peter. Right at that moment, looked at Peter. And Peter remembered the word of the Lord, which he prophesied, how he said unto him, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And Peter went out and wept bitterly, which really he put a spark to his faith, made him, this actually increased him. Some men, when they get rebuked, they increase, right? A wise man, if you correct him, they'll grow in knowledge, but a fool will despise you. Peter was a wise man. He went out and cried, examining himself, and repented and returned to his lot and kept on prophesying, right? Which really Peter is the king of Israel. He's King David, all right? It says, and the men that held Yahushua mocked him and smote him. All right. So I just wanted to show you that, Simon Peter wouldn't be able to be here for Yahushua to bear that cross for him. All right. And that's why you got Simon, a Cyrenian from Northern Africa, an Israelite that came from North Africa, right? Which it also is symbolic of the Hellenized Israelites that are to come into the fold. All right, you got the Jew first, which Peter was amongst the Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in Jerusalem. All right. And then you had Simon, a Cyrenian, which was a pretty much Hellenized Jew. All right. Or Hellenized Israelite, I should say, because he was most likely could have been of the northern kingdom. It says, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, which they would have done that to Peter, but then they would have crucified him too, that he might bear it after Yahushua. Because Yahushua was already torn to pieces, you know. They didn't break none of his bones, but they ripped his flesh. It says, and there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. So there's Israelites that believe, male and female. All right, and they're here in this last days. All right, and the Lord's going to save them. But they're going to hear his calling through the mouth of the prophets, believe and be sealed and be saved. It says, but Yahushua turning unto them said, daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming in the which they shall say, blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck. And that's these days, which is a really sick mentality, because the Lord gave us the power to repopulate, to procreate, to bring forth an image of yourself through your child. See, you're not supposed to be carving wood and stone to make images of yourself. You're supposed to be building your children, you know, and showing them the way that they're supposed to go. That's the whole purpose. That's the lineage. That's the dynasty. We were commanded to do these things, and Jake left it. I just watched the video. I'll pull it up. Where this girl's crying because she's pregnant. She got 2 kids. What's she gonna do with the third one? Right? So really, Jake is all fucked up in America. They're chasing careers. They're chasing education. They're chasing everything that don't fucking matter, and they're gonna be destroyed. All right? Deuteronomy 6, verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahweh your power commanded to teach you, that ye may do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear Yahweh thy power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. All right, so going back to Luke 23, verse 29, for behold, the days are coming in the which they shall say, blessed are the barren women, and the wombs that never bear, which are the barren women, and the paps which never gave suck.
I already got 2 fucking kids. I ain't baby. What you don't want the baby for? I can't do this. I already got 2 fucking kids. I can't. I'm baby. What you don't want the baby for? I can't do this. I already got 2 fucking kids. I can't. I barely even want those 2 kids. Yeah, but you told me to do it and I did it. I'm talking out of the ordinary right now. I don't want these kids. I don't want none of these kids. Yes, you do. Stop crying, bro. I don't want none of these fucking kids. What you gonna do then? Cause we're not doing the abortion thing, bro. That's not what
even about getting a fucking abortion. It's about me not wanting to be a mom no more. I don't want to be a mom.
So what makes you not want to be a mom no more? Cause the baby's always crying. Yeah, wake up.
It's too much. It's too much for me. You sitting here.
You doing the most for what, bro?
All right. So as you saw, Yahushua prophesied about these women, all right, and our nation being destroyed and having no knowledge, right, being destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because a woman's salvation is in her childbearing, right? Which even a woman that is barren, she had her place among the family. Because a man was allowed to have multiple women. You see? First Timothy 2 verse 15. Notwithstanding, so pretty much the willing woman, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety, right? Which you saw that woman in her hair she was trying to dye it yellow, which is in the image of the so-called Caucasian, the devil. And her clothes were tight and exposing her body because she wants to go ride the penis carousel, right? She wants to go be used and abused and see what that's like instead of being a mother and having honor. See, that's what Israel has been brought down to. And we're supposed to be princes and princesses of the holiest nation, multiplying, teaching our children to worship Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, and the fear that he is our great power. You see, because he deserves fear. It says, fear him and serve him with trembling. You know, he's a terrible power, and that's what our people forgot. And so he's gonna remind you by fucking you up. All right, you're gonna get real fucked up out here, and it's gonna be he's gonna do y'all like he don't even know you. There's no gonna be showing no mercy to you because really you're unmerciful. You're merciless. Do you see how that woman talk about those kids? Right? Like they don't fucking matter. She's worried about going out and getting fucking gangbanged and all this other terrible shit. But she don't give a fuck about the lot that the Lord made for her. So the Lord's going to show no mercy towards her and any Israelite that's in that same spirit. All right, I'm going to read that again. It says, Luke 23 verse 28, but Yahushua turning unto them said, daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, because after he was crucified, he died, was dead for 3 days, and then he was resurrected. Now he is at the right hand of the Father, and he sits in heaven at the right hand of the Father. It says, but weep for yourselves and for your children, for behold, the days are coming, in the which they shall say, blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck. Which I guarantee you right now, I could open a news page, and I guarantee you a woman is destroying her own child. And a lot of times these women destroy their own children. And if they can't, they'll go after someone else's child. It says, all right, see, there's judgment going on all over. At least 13 dead, 70 injured, and roof collapse. Let's see. And see, these women are all into some weirdo shit. Horse girl is half human, half horse, which is false. She's just painting her face and having her body mutilated. This is a sick generation. See? Florida couple allegedly eats Popeyes, plays mini golf after brutal teenage girl's murder because it was one of the suspect's birthday. See, we're living in a very demonic time, all right, to the point where these women don't even want to have children, and the children that they do bring forth are monsters. See? And the correction starts with the man, because the man is the one that's supposed to be correcting the woman. Well, like you see these men are not even men. They're being led by the woman because we're in the wicked society of Edom, and he sets the woman, right, the so-called Caucasian puts the woman over the man, and she causes destruction. She causes destruction. All right? So look, an abandoned 6-year-old girl. The Cafe Mom article. Abandoned 6-year-old girl and dog found wandering alone, hot and thirsty and hungry. And look, it's a dark-skinned girl, so, just with that, I would say she's probably a Negro or Latino child. So she's most likely an Israelite. See, and I just opened the articles, and we find this because we have a sure word of prophecy. All right, and you would do well if you take heed. Yep, look. It says right here, on Friday, April 4th, 2025, residents of a neighborhood in Florida noticed a young girl and a dog wandering around the area. Officers later learned that the 6-year-old girl ended up in the residential area because her mom, who is unhoused, had dropped her off there and allegedly abandoned her. The mom reportedly did not tell her 6-year-old daughter whether she planned on coming back, because on the officers' conversation with the young girl, they also learned that the child had never been to school before, according to the sheriff's office. See? So this is the chaos that the Lord was speaking about when he was telling Israel to cry for yourselves, because we have to live in this very wicked generation that's going to be destroyed, where these women don't want children when their whole purpose was to bring forth children. That's why they got a vagina. It says, then shall they begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in the dry? So if they're careless now when they got food, water, clothing, right? They're ready to lose it all. They're killing each other and going to prison getting life sentences for nothing. In the time that we have everything right now at our access, what is it going to be when there's nothing? What are they going to do? They're going to eat those kids. They're going to eat their babies. They're going to eat their husband after they shoot him, or the wife after he shoots her. See? And there's a time coming like no other, and it's called Jacob's trouble, and it tells you that men are going to be afraid because it's going to be a very violent time when people are going into each other's houses because there's nothing to eat in the stores. It says in 2 Ezra 15, verse 18, for because of their pride, talking about the elite of Esau, the one that controls the city, the wicked. The cities shall be troubled, which they're causing hyperinflation with their tariffs. They're causing a lot of unemployment. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And at the same time, you're going to have troops, these foreign troops that they've been talking about, pop up out of nowhere and start doing the same thing. It says in Zechariah 14:2, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, which Jerusalem are the Israelites, all right? And we're here in America for the most part prophesying, but the Lord's going to gather his flock from all over the world, all right? And these nations are coming against us to battle. That's why they got robots. That's why they got all these things, because they fear us. And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, which they're going to eventually go door to door, and they're going to destroy the houses. And the women ravished, which they're going to have their way with these women. And half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city, which are the elect. Then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations as he fought in the day of battle, which he's going to pretty much melt you. It says in verse 12, Zechariah 14:12, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Remember, it's prophesied in Revelation 11 that if you harm his prophets, that you shall burn by fire. That's the judgment. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. And that's nuclear destruction. You'll be in the lake of fire. All right? So the Lord's going to deliver his elect and punish the wicked and them that do wickedly. All praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham Ha-Rakakwadash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone wild, and shalom to the elect, Wa Ba Ba Ba.